Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Ebony,
And I'm Ivory.
and
And we never know how to introduce ourselves, but that's okay. Because here's the deal. We met a long time ago and we figured out that we can cover both ends of the spectrum for women of different cultures. And we just think we rock. And
yeah,
we may or may not, but we have a good time. So hopefully
yes,
you'll enjoy our conversations and we have a really good time. And, make sure you listen to us, make sure you message us, tell us what you think. If you have any requests for conversations, we'd be happy to do those too.
yeah, for sure. You know what? You just said that we should so do a Q&A session. So that's a thought. I'm just saying that on the recording so we can have that cuz I have an idea. But
Yeah.
yes. And for sure, and we talk about where Ebony and Ivory, like we're on different sides of the spectrum. Ivory Didi is more of the get in your face, oh no, tell it like it is. And I am more of the okay, a little softer, gentler. And so we thought like, yeah, this would be a great podcast episode. Us just coming together. So yeah, we do hope that you enjoy the conversations that we have. And we're gonna get into it today. I know Didi, earlier you had messaged me just talking about like sidestepping the crazy for the sake of your own sanity. And I was just like, oh, okay, this will be a good topic. And so I'm going to just let you kick it off. Like, I know there's so much going on in the world. And so, like, even you were talking about, we can tie this into everything that's going on in the world and relationships. So just kind of reel us in and tell us what does it mean to sidestep all of that?
So this is some of the things I've been thinking about. We go off, we are born and our parents teach us how to communicate. And our
Mm-hmm.
culture teaches how to communicate, right? But nobody's actually teaching us how to dialogue, or what I'd like to talk about today, how not to dialogue. Like
Yeah.
just because somebody says X to you does not mean you got to pick that ball up and run it to the 40-yard line. You can just leave it lay right where it's at. And it is one of the hardest things for people to do. But we've not been taught that. Somebody says something to you, you say something back, right? And
Yeah.
it just goes
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on. And we get in these crazy dialogues. And
Mm-hmm.
then I say it's exacerbated because with social media, people do that, right? They just state their POVs, then somebody else states their POV, and then it's just ongoing POV, that nobody's having a dialogue
Yeah.
and nobody's understanding each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there is an opportunity when two people are talking and somebody says something that you actually don't want to talk about, or you can see that maybe that person is trying to draw you somewhere you don't want to go. And that
Mm-hmm.
definitely, that part of it is seen a lot in our politics right now,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about a lot of things, but we're not talking about the things that
The
matter,
issue. Yeah.
right? We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about maybe if come so is going to happen, and then the
Mm-hmm.
media runs with it, the stock market runs with it, and then those things don't end up happening.
Yeah.
But we just spent a month talking about it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
why we do
Mhm.
that? Because we've never been taught. And I'm not saying I have the answer, but I have some ideas about it, and I can see the dynamic and like how it would be useful for humans to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So then let's get into it. Like, what are some of the ideas and how can they stop? Because it's like, you said a lot, and my thoughts are even with social media or the news, how they take something, they run with it. And for the most part, we're just taking it as fact, right? And now we're, like you said, creating these back and forth, or sometimes even dialogues just based off of things that have been posted. And we haven't even taken the time to go and fact check it to make sure that it's actually valid and stuff. But I guess where do we start with all of the craziness that's going on?
I think we have to start in our own relationships so that we can learn how to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have a friend or family member who picks up a conversation that you were having that's a hot emotional topic and they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You could use things like, I prefer not to talk about that.
Okay.
I have found in the past that we didn't do very well in that conversation, and I just don't have time for it right now. But we could
Mhm.
set up some time in the future. But
Mhm.
you have got to be present, compassionate with yourself and the other person, and
Yeah.
realize wow, this thing still exists. So they're telling
Mhm.
me it still exists by talking to me about it. But I can actually have compassion for myself and say, not right now. Set a
Mhm.
boundary. Not right
Mhm.
now, but
Mhm.
let's grab our phones, right? Let's put a time
Yeah.
down and have a conversation and see what
Yeah.
we can do. But it doesn't have to be right now.
Mhm. But you know what? It's also though a lot of people who are starting off with boundary setting are insecure and they're dealing with some type of secure attachment, avoidant, um, anxious attachment or fear of rejection. And so I can imagine just people because that was me, right? When I first started learning how to set boundaries, feeling like, oh my gosh, they might reject me if I do say, hey, I'm not available for it right now, but we can schedule it. So how do we even shift that mindset to like, hey, no, this isn't, it's just saying what you have the capacity for or the time for or whatever.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I'm always that girl willing to get in somebody's face. So I don't know about not being able to set boundaries, but I do know that I've been in relationships with people who didn't know how to set boundaries and then later blamed me as if it was my fault they didn't know how to set a boundary,
Yeah.
right? Because I
Yeah.
can't know something they didn't tell me,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think boundary building is like going to the gym, right? You
Mhm.
got to start off with 2 pounds, then 5 pounds, then 10,
Yeah.
then 12, then 15. So you have to just make small steps a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
And I think a little one is saying, I can't talk about that right now. That's a
I
pretty little
know.
one. Like
I
just right
know.
now. Like maybe you don't even set a time up. You just say, I can't talk about that right now. Just like that.
I'm wondering cuz it's funny. I wonder, what do you think, like, if people ever get to a point where they're completely comfortable with setting boundaries? And I say that because, like, just hearing you talk about it, you were like, you've always been a person who set boundaries. Me, not so much so. But I did do what you said, right? Like, when I first started to incorporate boundaries into my life, just one step at a time. And then what happened was, I would see how they responded. And it was all in my mind how I thought they would respond, right?
Right.
And like even this week, I had something planned for my birthday that required my friends to purchase something, like an outfit, a particular outfit. And then I made up my mind that I was going to cancel that. And I felt really bad for it. And I actually put off sending them that text message for like 2, 3 weeks. But anyways, I ended up sending it this week, and all they did was they were just hearted it, And here I was overthinking, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna be mad, or they're gonna ask this, and they're gonna ask that, and so that's why I was asking that question too. Like, as a person who hasn't been used to setting boundaries, do you think like we'll ever get comfortable with it, or
I don't know. You tell me.
girl? So you know what? I'm gonna say no, but well, what do I think? Okay, just right now, I'm gonna say no. But I think that what happens is hopefully I will get to that point though, because I am making improvements and I am progressively like I'm doing a good job of setting those boundaries, and it comes easier, it comes a lot faster, especially in romantic settings. I like, so yeah, in romantic settings I'm good, like I ain't got nothing to worry about. I can set those boundaries. I
But
think sometimes, like in platonic relationships, with my mom and stuff like that, I am a little still, a little, it takes a little bit more time to do it. So yeah, I do think it's possible now that you say that. And I'm thinking about just like relationally, when I first entered the dating scene, I was that person that was afraid of rejection. So I felt like I had to say yes to every offer, every date that was extended to me, even if I was tired or not interested in them. So yeah, I think it's possible.
yeah, I think it's possible. But maybe it's like the lifting conversation. Like you're always going to be sore from it.
Mm,
Right? Like, so for some people, maybe they don't even notice they're doing it. It's just automatic. But maybe for
yeah,
other people, afterwards, you're always going to notice, well, that was hard, or I could see where I could have done better, or quicker, or more direct, or kinder, right? Like, whatever it is that could have been
yeah,
different.
yeah. That's true. That's really true. So, and it's so funny because, like, in any conversation I have with people, we always talk about how the work starts with us. And so, even with you, when you were just talking about the sidestepping, so we have to start with ourselves, look at ourselves, give ourselves that compassion. But then, what else can we do? And yesterday, because I haven't really been on social media, period, but I also haven't been on the political side of social media at all. And
Good for
yesterday, I
you.
found
That's lucky.
girl, but and I was reminded because yesterday I ended up going down this political rabbit hole, and I found myself getting angry, getting tense, getting anxious, getting depressed, afraid. And that's one of the reasons why I had stopped, engaging in all that political, like all the political news and stuff like that. So I can only imagine people who are ingrained in it. How do we actually incorporate like this whole would you say side tracking?
Sidestepping.
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 How,
The dance
because
move.
I'm curious. I don't even know. Look, I don't even know what to do.
I try to stay in conversations where I can actually produce results.
I
Right?
like that.
How can I affect the situation? If can I affect a situation by being in this conversation? If I cannot
Okay.
affect the situation, then why would I waste my energy? Right? You want to go to a protest? Go to a protest. Right? They get publicized. Your representatives pay attention. You're doing something. But
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth with just anybody on social media about anything
Mm-hmm.
doesn't produce a
Yeah.
result. And it just keeps
Yeah.
us busy not producing results,
Yeah.
which is really good for those in power. They've got the whole
It's true.
world doing stuff that causes no results.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes us feel worse, anxious, out of
Mm-hmm.
control, depressed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of political stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and can we actually affect it? Probably not on a large scale, but we can go to protests. We can take
Mm-hmm.
care of ours. We can not participate in things that don't support our
Mm-hmm.
goals, outcomes, beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can support those we want to support personally, people who
Yeah.
are being affected.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw a post. It's funny. I saw a post. It might have been earlier this week, and that's what someone was saying. Like she was just talking about, Democrats and Republicans, honestly, and she was just saying, Democrats, like right now, we're just so wrapped up in just complaining and complaining about everything that the Republicans are doing, and she's like, okay, look, we got it. This is what they're doing, but this continuous complaining isn't moving the needle forward. So what's next? Like we already know what we know. These are the facts. These people are who they are, but us continuing to just resurface that, it's not doing anything. And I love what you said. It's not us going around complaining, venting, reposting stuff. It's not producing a result.
Yeah, and I have to say this, and I know a lot of I take a lot of heat for saying this. Cory Booker stood on the floor for
Mm-hmm.
all those hours. What was the plan? Like he had
Mm-hmm.
all the opportunity to say, "This is the plan. This is what we're doing." He didn't do any of that,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so if a leader like that has all that amount of time and doesn't tell the people what the plan is, we have a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Democrats have a problem. I'm sorry, but they do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Republican machine has always been very good at staying focused, staying on task, staying on message.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if people don't agree with it, you cannot take away that they are a brilliant marketing machine.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Democrats lack that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, okay, maybe it goes a little political right now in the conversation, but that was something that they talked about that was like during the election period, is that I think the Republicans did a good job of knowing who their target audience was, how, like you said, how to market to them, how to speak to what they were looking for. And Democrats are just completely lost. Like they're so disconnected from who their target audience is and what they are actually looking for. And the thing is, like, Democrats talked a lot about like abortions and stuff like that, but that wasn't on the top of everybody's list when it came to the election. And
Right.
so I don't know why I went on that ramble. You just made me think about that. But it's like also just them, that whole party being disconnected. I don't even know. So it makes sense why he got up there and he didn't have a plan, because honestly, I don't think they have a plan. I don't think they know.
Right. And nobody can, like, I'm not making a judgment call, but when Trump presented himself to the world as I want to run for president, he presented himself with an elevator pitch that made one believe that he knew what you were suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if his lifestyle and where he lives, in Manhattan was completely different than his average voter.
Mm-hmm.
Who he presented himself to and how he spoke made one feel a way, and that way was heard and understood.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. And see, this takes me back again to relationally. I
Yeah,
think that is, and we can even talk about that because it can also be used as a manipulation tool, like somebody knowing the ins and outs of you and how to speak to that. And but then also it could actually be from a very genuine space, right?
right.
And I guess, how do we even call that out? Like, because I think voters genuinely believed that Trump was genuine about supporting them and helping America. Everything that he spoke to. Is turned out to be the opposite. But like, how do we not know that a person isn't believable, gaslighting us, manipulating us, and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's only one answer, and it's painful time, in my
Mm,
opinion, right?
dang,
Like, how can
that's
you
true
know,
though. That's so true. Like, that's honest.
right? Time. Like, you can't know when somebody just speaks to you if they're
Mhm.
BSing you.
Mhm.
It's over time, right?
Mhm.
Right? And let's just take tariffs, for example. Like, we're going to raise tariffs, we're going to raise tariffs, we're going to raise tariffs. Okay, we're not doing that. Let's put it on a 60-day hold, right? So
Mhm.
all that upset and market volatility around it. And now we're not doing that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you don't know, there's no way to know. He may have thought that was the best idea in the world and
Yeah.
then got in it and he's like, okay, now I see something different. This is maybe not the best idea in the world. Okay, let's put it on pause and let talk about it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So even today, we cannot say, did he do that on purpose? Did he know? Did he not know?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Was he
true. That's true.
gaslighting the whole world?
Mhm.
I have no idea.
Mhm.
So even after time happens and things shift, you still don't know what a person thought, felt, why they acted the way they acted. So I think that goes back to the original thing, is we have to just have our own boundaries and have our own thoughts
Yeah.
about things.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you,
That's true.
I mean, it's like betrayal, right? It's like betrayal in a relationship.
Mhm.
Do you really care? Like, does one really care why somebody did what they did?
Mhm.
Or should you just care that that's not the kind of relationship you want to be in? Is where, or with somebody who's capable of that.
Yeah.
It could just be that simple. I'm not
Mhm.
interested in being in a relationship with somebody who's capable of that because I, as a person, am not capable of that.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like,
Right?
and you're big on I statements too. And I love that about you.
Yeah. Well, because there's no other place for me, Dee Dee, to come from. I can only be in me, right? I can
Mhm.
only say, I don't like this, or I don't feel this way, or I want this, or I don't want this.
Mhm.
I cannot speak for the other people in my relationships.
Yeah.
I have to count on them to tell me what they want.
Mhm.
We're really good at this as human beings when it comes to negotiating work contracts,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You can come work for me, and here's your list of what I want you to do. Another person would say, great, and this is what I want in compensation for it. And then there's an
Mhm.
agreement, and then that's it. And then
Yeah.
they go do it, right? And if it's not working, they come back and talk about it. But we don't do that in relationships.
That is so true. Why don't we? That's a good question. Like, why don't we invest as much time in our relationships, like as far as communication, understanding one another, as we do in anything else in life?
Well, I'd be funny about it and tell you because our hormones get in the way.
Oh Lord.
That lust thing just gets in the way.
That's true.
Colors everything the wrong shade.
That's so true. That is so true. But also, I think we just find it hard to communicate with people that we're in relationships with. And I don't know if it's because we're so worried about like what they'll say or how they'll look at us when we, you know what I'm saying, like say certain things. I'm not for
I
sure.
think it's bigger than that. Will they stop loving us?
Mhm.
Right? Like people don't tell their parents how they're feeling because they're afraid their parent will stop loving them.
Yeah.
Right? Just start from there. And then if you don't have that with your parent, if you can't say, can you not speak to me this way? Or can you not talk to me this way? I can't hear you when you do this. Can we do this different? Or I don't like that food. Can we have something else? Like if you can't do that with your own parent, like the first people you have a relationship with, and then
Yeah.
we think we're going to do it with some intimate partner and then wonder why the divorce rate's so high. That's what I'm saying. We're not taught. We as human beings are not taught how to communicate and dialogue.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's this concept that I've been investigating, and it just gets so big. I'm so shocked by it.
Yeah.
Like literally, you go to college and they teach you how to stand up on stage and do a speech class in order to produce a result that you want, not
Mhm.
to like be in relatedness,
Mhm.
but to produce a result,
Mhm.
convince somebody of something.
Yeah.
It was so backwards. Like maybe we all just need to, we as a society, the whole planet, realize that we've created this mess, and
Will we though?
nobody's just stopped and said, "Hey, we need to figure this out."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, and it's every generation too is just kind of pitted against one another and arguing. You know, Gen Z is arguing with millennials. Millennials are arguing with
Yeah,
and it, you know, and because we just had this conversation with some family, we were talking about because I was in this training and she was talking about the different generations, like the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and all that stuff. And it was funny because one of the things she said is that Gen X is just chill. Like Gen X is the one um group where nobody's really arguing with them.
which age
Like
group is that?
Gen X.
What's the?
Age group. What is the age group of Gen X? Here, look.
I never can keep track. Who was born when?
Let me pull it up. Let me tell you. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up the Gen.
Get
We
ChatGPT
got
to
time.
tell us.
But it was so, you know what? I know where I can find it. Cause
Because my daughter's generation, whoever that she's 17, she just says that like when all of you old people die, we'll handle it because we don't think anything y'all think.
but here's the thing. You wouldn't be where you were without the previous generations fighting for something for you, you
Right?
know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the disconnect, is that every generation thinks that they can figure it out, and every generation thinks, that they're a standalone, that they can solve the issue. And no, that's not the case. You have to give homage to the generations that came before you, because they have set like, you know what I'm saying, like our ceiling is your floor, so you got to start from where we built it up to. And I think that
Well, and what if we're just so genetically in disposition to always be hunting, gathering, and fighting that we don't see the good in what the generations before us did? We only see what's left to be
mhm,
done,
mm,
and then we only talk about that,
yeah,
right?
that's
And
true
they don't
too.
pay any homage because they're just like, "What's better? What's next? What do we got to do?" Like, how, right?
Mhm.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. Okay, so here's the one that I have. They change like a few years off, but
Okay.
the silent generation is between 80 and 100. The boomers are 61 to 79. Gen X is 46 to 60. And then millennials are 31 to 45. And then Gen Z is 15 to 17. And then, of course, we've got Gen Alpha that's coming out. So,
What was the one before Gen Alpha?
um,
What was the name of it?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z is 15 to 30. So 95 to 2012 is your birth year. And so
Yeah,
you know,
that's my daughters. Like they're kind of like, you know, we just don't care about the things y'all care about, and we're not going to fight about them. And
Mm.
that generation might be true, right? Like the things that they care about, the planet, having a good job, raising a family. They're like, we don't care if it's two men, two women, if it's somebody who's binary, trans, like we don't care.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
just don't care.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let people be people. As
Yeah.
long as, what, their inalienable rights are given to them.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that again it goes back to too is like, okay, well, we're not going to argue about it either. And
Right.
so that's kind of like what we just how we started off the conversation today is like choosing what to exert my energy into. And it's
Right.
like, oh, I'm choosing not to give my energy to that because it's just not worth it. And again, I love what you said. I even wrote it down like if it's not going to yield a result or if I can't make any impact in this conversation, then I'm just not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do not get in political conversations online. I like to read what people are saying,
Uh-huh.
see
Uh-huh.
what's going on in the world, but I'm not commenting. Oh my god.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge of politics because I've never been like like a political person or into anything. I have a close friend who's big on it, but not me. So I never even get into it. I'm like you. I'll read it. I'll listen to people discuss, and I don't know why politics. It's like politics and relationships are the two things that will get people in an uproar.
Quick, quick. Well,
And why?
and they're the two things you got little to no effect on.
That's
Maybe
true.
that's why people get so upset. Like I'm because really what they're upset about is they have no way to affect the situation.
Yeah.
Right? You go run
Yeah.
for office, right?
Mhm. Mhm. That is so true though. Those are the two things that we have little effect over.
We can only have solid effect on our own actions, our own thoughts,
Yeah.
our own behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like that who are in the area of, gay, trans, binary that are just like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm making plans for what I need to do if the country I love and live in changes the rules,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
can't
Yeah.
change what's going on. Like if they live somewhere else, like let's say they live on the Western Seaboard, like they don't live in DC, they can't just go knock on their, their representative's door. They're like, but
Mhm.
what I can do is
Yeah.
plan for what I can do.
That's good.
If X
That's
happens,
good.
I'll do Y. If Y
Mhm.
happens, I'll do Z.
Mhm.
There's some control in that because that's the
Mhm.
only place you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I feel like those are some really good tools for people to take away from this conversation today. It's like don't engage in any conversations if you don't have the ability to have any impact or get results out of it that you desire, and then also focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Like I can't control what they're doing politically, but here's what I can control, and let me go ahead and prepare for that. And we're talking about this, I think, just in an overall like a larger context, but I would like to bring it back down relationally. When we talk about that, how does one, what are your thoughts? And I'm sure we can like both kind of share our thoughts and piggyback off of each other
Yeah.
relationally. How do we, what does that look like how do we focus on, okay, I can't control what they're gonna do, but I'm gonna go ahead and
Right.
put my plan together.
Well, I love setting up conversations for myself. Like, hey, I really want to talk about this thing that we have that's out. So let's set up time.
Mm.
And when we set up that time, let's both come prepared to talk about I statements. And then you write them out beforehand. I feel bad when we have a conversation that looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how I didn't say, I feel bad when you, right? Because you is defensive. Oh, I feel bad when we aren't getting along. Or I
Mm-hmm.
feel lonely when we aren't connected.
Yeah.
Not, I feel lonely when you disconnect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
responsibility in I and we that
Mm-hmm.
feels like blame and make wrong in I and you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one trick I really like. I don't know if it's a trick, but it's a linguistics move that I think has psychological effects on us.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Mm-hmm.
psychological effects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. as a kid, I didn't always love the way my dad would talk to me, but I
Mhm.
knew the message he was attempting to get across.
Mhm.
So I would say, I can't hear you when it's loud.
Okay.
Can we talk quieter? Can we
Mhm.
stop doing whatever we're doing and just have the communication?
Mhm.
Right? Because he ran his
Mhm.
own business. So he'd be trying to tell me something or teach me something while he was doing 40 other things, and I can't take that in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I learned young to say, I want to hear what you have to say to me. Can we do it this way?
Mm.
But that took a lot of practice, right? Over and over of me doing it the when you do this, and then he would say, fine, I won't do it at all. And then I'd get upset and cry. Right? Because then I felt bad, like, okay, now he abandoned me, right, in that
Yeah.
particular topic. So
Mhm.
I just kept, you know, using different tools until I found one that worked.
Mhm. Mhm. So that's interesting though. It's like that was almost innately in you to communicate and
Oh, you already said it. I like to fight. I just wasn't willing to give up.
yeah, yeah. But because a lot of us just end up becoming people pleasers. And so I can see that being like, okay, well, I'm having to struggle to understand what my dad is telling me, even though he's doing 40 things and I don't really like it, but I'm not going to speak up. I'm not going to say anything.
Right. Just a lot of kids would just go away and feel bad.
Mm hmm.
Right.
Mm hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And take that on themselves.
I had this
So,
conversation with a nonprofit this week. It's about, like, okay, so here's the theory of, me, my company. We make up something about other people and about situations. So why
mm
not make up something that serves us and that is positive?
hmm. Mm hmm.
Right? So my partner does X, and then we say because. Well, what if we said because they don't understand, or they don't know any better, or because of their past relationships they learned something that isn't working in this relationship, or
Mm-hmm.
because of their parents, or whatever, but at least it's not, because they're an asshole. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
like this, it's not the like acts of death where now you can't move, right? Because once you make up something so big, then there's
Mhm.
nowhere to go in the conversation.
Mhm.
But if you make up
Mhm.
something that's generous and
Mhm.
compassionate, right, about being a
Mhm.
human being that we may
Mhm.
all go through,
Mhm.
it gives you
Mhm.
power to be mobile in the conversation, to dance. I call it
Yeah.
dancing, right? You can
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, maybe it's like this, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
even if it's not the truth, well, whatever terrible, awful, negative thing you would have made up is probably not the truth either.
Mhm. Yeah. No, it's serious. It's like bringing back this humanity aspect to other people, because I think we always want to be acknowledged as humans. We always want that compassion bestowed upon us, that understanding, right? That forgiveness, understanding that we're imperfect, but that's not how we operate when we're dealing with other people or making assumptions and thoughts about them.
Totally. And we always want people to understand that we are who we are because of what we've been through, but we are
Hmm.
not racist enough to give it back to them.
Right.
Right? We
Yeah.
just make them bad and wrong. Oh, they must be blah, blah, blah. And so now I'm mad, right? But
Hmm.
in reverse, we want that thing that we're not giving.
Yeah. 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 Something that I've had to like really work on for myself is, girl, sometimes I'm on time to stuff, but a lot of times I'm not on time to stuff. But don't let me show up on time and I have to wait for other people. I am pissed. Like, and that, so like when I started to understand this concept that we're talking about now, like it's made me give other people grace, because I'm like, oh well, I always want people to be forgiving and understanding of me when I'm running five, even if it's just 5-10 minutes late. But yet if somebody else is running 10 minutes late, like I'm ready to just cancel the whole event and be like, oh, I'm going home. And
Right.
it's just small things like that.
Yeah. I had a coach many years ago in my 20s at a job, like he was a sales coach. And he
Uh-huh.
used to say, he was very dogmatic about it. Like if somebody's late, they're just disrespecting you. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I cannot live in that black and white world.
Uh-huh.
That person is not I do not think that they sat at home and said, I disrespect that person, so I'm going to be
Yeah,
10
let me be
minutes late.
late.
I'm not thinking that because guess
Uh-huh.
what? I am not that important, right?
Mhm.
Like you have to think
Mhm.
you're so important. No, that
Mhm.
person's late because they're late. That's it, right? And whatever
Yeah.
reason, that's theirs. That whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you saw that about yourself and started giving people grace because just give the grace already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. You like humanizing people. And it's so funny because I know our time is up now, but I think there's something else that we should talk about, and you guys should come in, share your thoughts about this. Us talking about in dating, how sometimes we can dehumanize people in dating relationships, or even as we're getting to know people, right? Like we just lose all compassion, consideration, thoughtfulness for that other person, and we really want them to show up being perfect, and it's like, but you're not.
Right.
And so I think that would be something good to talk about
Not
too.
let's talk about that, right? I want you to be something I'm not, but don't worry about what I'm not. Just I want you to be what I want you to be.
No, yeah. Like I want, and it's like I want you to pursue me, but I'm lackadaisical in my responses when you text me and reach out. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah. Be who you want to see in the world, right?
mm-hmm.
You got to
Yep,
it has to be that way. You will attract who you are in the world.
that part.
That part, like it's just real because
Mhm.
it just shows up that way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. And I feel like that's a great place to end. You will attract who, what did you say? How'd you say it? You will
I say you
attract.
will attract who you are. You will attract what you are in the world. Be the person you want to see in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Yeah,
kind, be compassionate, be graceful, be loving, be on
yeah.
time. You want young people to be on time? Be on time.
I'm working on it.
Well, guess what? And we're all late. And sometimes we're all late, and guess what it means? Nothing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, but I am working on it.
I know you are. I know you are. Okay, I want
Yes.
I want people to chime in, send some messages if they have a topic. But I think we should hit that topic that you just mentioned. How did you state it?
No, I definitely have it down. So dehumanizing the other person when you're in the dating field, or
Yeah. Or
yeah,
not
dating space.
try not to
Hmm.
dehumanize them. Stop
Hmm.
dehumanizing them.
That's it. Stop dehumanizing. Yeah, I like that. So I think that's gonna be
That's good.
maybe our next episode. We
Done.
can
Do
talk
it.
about that,
I
get
love
into
this
that.
magic. Yes.
And I can definitely see you too, like using your tools in that conversation as well, which I think is going to be great. I don't know. So, do you have anything coming up that you want to push the people to share with them, where to follow you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Dee Fisher, and Discover Response is starting to launch their website. Just wrote a training, so I'm going to do some teasers and put some feelers out there for training modules that are really working for corporations. I think they work very well interpersonally. If they didn't work interpersonally, they wouldn't work for businesses. And businesses are just made up of a whole bunch of people,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's a business. No, it's a whole bunch of people in a building. Right?
Right.
It's a whole
Right.
bunch of people committed to the same thing. That's it. It's still
Yeah.
people. We still
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
how about you? Put it out there.
Let's see. So you can follow me on all social media platforms at Life After Infidelity. You can also go listen to the podcast, Life After Infidelity, if you are in that space, or share it out with anyone that you know that's in that space. And then I have a 49-day devotional called Healing the Heart from Infidelity that is on Amazon. So definitely go and check that out. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for me.
Nice. Oh, and this one will be up on YouTube under Ebony and Ivory.
Yes, yes. And so, go follow us, y'all, on YouTube. What, look, we're so new, we're still learning. What is our YouTube page?
Ebony and Ivory.
Okay, is it Ebony and Ivory?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, make sure you please go. We're starting off. We're super excited about this page, Ebony and Ivory on YouTube, and we're gonna figure out a way for you all to send us in questions. So if you have questions that you want us to address, so just be looking for that. in upcoming episodes, because we definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to provide you with our thoughts, our feedback, and our lived experience. So, again, I am Ebony, aka Brianna Latrice, and I am signing off. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, girl. This is Dee Dee Fisher, aka Ivory, and I'm signing off. And I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.